we were just introducing Stephanie. She is with Organized Chick, and how she can assist you as a family caregiver in transition. So we were talking about, you were just mentioning transition. Mm-hmm. And as an adult child, which is a lot of family caregivers, mm-hmm. They have transition. So is it, you know, and sometimes it's surprising transition. You know, mm-hmm. you're not expecting a parent to have to come live with you, but maybe a spouse has mm-hmm. passed away, mm-hmm. and now we have to get our home ready for mom, mm-hmm. but then get mom or dad's home, mm-hmm. ready to be sold or what have you. So have you helped families with that type of transition?
Yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first step would be like making the call to kind of figure out what's going on, getting the details, and really discussing a timeline. And the best way to do that would be just to schedule a consultation, and that's where we really see the parent's house and see it in relation to the new house that they're moving into. And sometimes they're not even moving into the child's home. Sometimes it's an assisted living, mm-hmm. or an adult living community. So seeing what those spaces look like and really evaluating realistically what's going to fit, to kind of put those things into perspective, to have those difficult conversations of what will fit into the new space and what will not. Okay. Because that's kind of what you have to establish immediately, even if it takes that extra time of measuring out the space, measuring out the furniture pieces, and really evaluating like what to the core is important to them, and talking about why it's important. Mm-hmm. Is it because you got it for your 1-year anniversary, or this picture reminds you of your honeymoon, or things like that? Like, that's also a really good time to have those conversations, to get those memories, mm-hmm. because it kind of comes fresh in their minds. And like anything, like storytelling brings on that legacy of family, that when you're able to have those conversations, as the child who is already overwhelmed with, I'm having to deal with my family, my parent, mm-hmm. or my family member, listening to the story kind of puts things into a little bit more perspective. And so going through evaluating the current space and the new space, and seeing what's going to work and what's not going to work, and then kind of coming up with a list or an inventory, because sometimes there might be another family member that could use the items, or sometimes you want to sell it, or sometimes you just need to find a great organization, mm-hmm. To donate it to. Yeah, and I have, being in the business for over 8.5 years, I have those resources. So saying, okay, you may not want to sell it, but you want to give it to, a shelter for women, then, we can call that resource, or so on and so forth. So it's evaluating initially in the consultation, what specifically are the needs are, and kind of starting to have those difficult conversations. And because I'm a neutral party, mm-hmm.
Which is so helpful in situations like that.
I'm a neutral party, that it kind of makes, it easier to have those conversations, mm-hmm. even if it's to walk away for a second and vent, sometimes mm-hmm. you just need that. And I like to be that for my patients or clients.
Well, and with the reminiscing part, the storytelling part, mm-hmm. Just reminiscing, taking them down memory lane on mm-hmm. some different items, but then understanding which items are important, mm-hmm. and that they want to take with them. Mm-hmm. So that's one way, is looking at the space and have the neutral party involved, so that no one has to be the bad guy. But as we're talking about the actual caregiver space, so give us a scenario of when someone has called you into mm-hmm. their home, mm-hmm. and let's just walk through what that looks like.
So we'll just make up a scenario where the family member is going to live in the basement apartment, where they have like a full kitchen, full space. So we would walk through and really space out how much space they're going to have, and see what the family member is bringing in. Sometimes you have to create spaces, and an example would be they don't they have like just a builder standard of a closet system, and the family member needs more closet space. So sometimes we have to install a closet, or even a pantry, because there may not be one.
Okay.
So just we're full service, so we can kind of look at every situation and create something for what is what
Whatever
their
the
needs
needs
are.
are. Yeah. So when you go in, you do somewhat like a needs assessment
Yes.
for each client,
Yes.
and talk about what they want to get out of the space,
Mhm.
right?
And what's important, it's like figuring out what's important. It could be kind of, again, talking about like the difference, going down memory lane, and talking about the legacy. It's like, well, I no matter what, I have to have this piece of furniture, or okay, well, realistically, if you keep this, then you can't keep this.
Mm-hmm.
And so, talking about it, and going through it, and coming up with unique ways to making it work.
Okay. Unique ways.
Yes.
So if we're talking about keeping the self-care a priority for a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we be proactive in that? I always like, how can we be a little bit more prepared instead of in reaction mode?
Mm-hmm.
So what are some tips that you can share with us?
For like, once someone is like in the caregiving situation, I think having list, it could be a medication list on file, and having multiple avenues to get the retrieve that list, because you may have it printed out, but you might have forgotten it on the table. So being able to pull it up digitally, and being able to recollect that information when you're at a doctor's office, because sometimes those lists can be 2 pages long, because there's so many different types of medications that keeping up with those things, having yourself or on a family maintenance schedule. So like every Monday you mop. It could be like just like a household chore. And this is not just for like when you're caregiving, but just to like for a regular family of in any type of life transition, getting on a routine schedule type things, because you know what to expect.
Okay.
You're like on Mondays you do this, on Tuesdays you do this. That can kind of be the same way for meal planning. Is just really getting yourself and your family on a routine to simplify your life.
Okay, so simplify, organize, keep your space decluttered.
Mm-hmm.
So why would someone, or how do they find you? What is going on with them that they say, oh, I need to reach out to?
Well, a lot of I've been super fortunate that a lot of my clients have found me through word of mouth. They're like, oh yeah, I went through this, or someone will mention my space is really overwhelming. They're like, I know the person for you. But I mean, you can find me on social media, so Facebook, Instagram. I have a website, so organizedchick.com, and yeah.
Okay, but why?
So why?
Yeah, why do they reach out to you?
They would reach out to me. I mean, the main thing is it's overwhelming. They don't know how to get started, and I had someone tell me yesterday that I wouldn't have gotten started if you were not here.
Mm.
So just being in someone's space gives them that motivation to do something about it, because it is very overwhelming when it's your own stuff, and you don't want to hurt someone's feelings by getting rid of something. When someone gives you permission,
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel bad about it.
Okay, all right. So you, and so when they do, they feel, if you are feeling overwhelmed in your home and you want to get some things organized, so let's talk about the steps of that. So you'll come in and
we'll evaluate the space, and kind of go through and kind of make different categories, and that'll be a keep category, things that you just have to have, a donate category, and sometimes some things are so good that you're like, I can't just give it away, I need to sell it. And some of it is just like, well, it's torn, it's scattered, it's good to be trashed. So creating those different categories and then just going through each item and putting them in those situations, and then once you've collected all the items that you have to have, look at the space and create something based on what you're keeping.
Okay.
And we can use an example of a closet. And some people do go through their closet seasonally, which I recommend.
I do, yes.
And if it doesn't fit you, or if you try it on and you're like, well, I really don't like it anymore, then get rid of it. Because if you're not going to be comfortable in it, then you're very less likely to use it. So
okay. And so what rooms of the house are most popular?
Closets. People's
okay.
Closets are always really popular, and the kitchen, because families gather in kitchens. And what else?
Kitchens and closets.
Kitchens and closets are really the main ones.
But you can organize any room of the house. So what would you recommend for caregivers if they just need to do something for themselves at home in their space right now? Just a tip.
Paper clutter is always a really big one. So I would recommend, one thing to do is immediately when you get your mail is to go through it, buy a trash can, and if it's trash, either recycle or put it in the trash can immediately. And then if you have space, find either a box or shred it if you have a shredder. Take care of it right then and there, so you have the least amount of opportunities to collect clutter on your.
I need to take that advice.
Everyone does, because it's so easy to just get the mail and just put it on the counter. Like, I'll deal with it later. And on Sunday you're like, oh, I have all of the week's mail sitting there. But it's a really simple task that you could do when you get it. Like, you can immediately take care of it, and then keep what you need, and take it out of the envelope and just keep the paper that has the amount that you pay, and then call it a day.
Okay. I'm really bad at that. My mom, I don't even go to the mailbox sometimes because, we live in a world where everything is online. So I know that it's pretty irrelevant stuff in the mailbox. So my mom, when my mom visits, she knows to go to the mailbox and bring my mail. So I will take that tip and I will make a point to try to do that. Just go to and you too can, all of our caregivers listening today, just try it and see if that helps simplify your life a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how can you help the caregiver community? We talked a lot about, their space and how you can help with transitions. What would you want to say to our caregiver community today of how you can help them?
I would say, just you're supporting your family, and I think it's important that you understand that it's okay to get support as well. So whether it's just someone to bounce questions on, or take an afternoon where you dedicate a space to yourself, you will really appreciate it in the long run, because it'll be one less thing for you, or as a caregiver, to worry about, because you're using a lot of your energy and your time and your dedication taking care of someone else and making those difficult decisions. If you have someone helping you simplify your life to make the everyday mundane decisions easier, then you're able to kind of, put that energy for them and making it easier for you. Does that make sense? So I would say, it doesn't have to be a huge package. It doesn't have to be,
It can be something
it could be
small
something really small where,
that makes you feel good.
yeah.
And I like what you said about just having the support.
Absolutely.
Yes, we have to give caregivers permission
Yes.
that you can get your own support too. We do a lot for others, but this is about taking care of you. So, well, we're excited to have you here today. And I just want to recommend to caregivers to reach out to Stephanie if you have, if you walk into your space, walk through your home and see, does it feel good to you? Or is there a space that you want to get organized or just make you feel a little bit better or help support you in simplifying decisions? You said that a lot.
Yeah, making decisions, make it easier for you. And
make your life easier. So it starts with us, but that space can be so important. I know for me, like when I go out of town, I clean up before I go.
Yes, I'm really
because when I come back, I want all the laundry done. I want to walk back into a clean house. So just take one thing to do for yourself. And I like the tip about the mail.
Because you deal with it daily.
Yes, and it can pile up. Yes. So find a way to just declutter. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about the importance of decluttering and having an organized space?
I would say, and this doesn't necessarily have to do with decluttering, but I mean, give yourself grace. I think it's really important to just take it all in and, give yourself permission to, take a deep breath and, it didn't happen overnight. Your clutter didn't happen overnight and it's not going to get fixed overnight. So, give yourself some grace and know that what you're doing for your family is important and it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
One other question that I wanted to ask you was, so that, just people know when you're starting a project like this, how long would it take?
It really just depends on what's going on. I like to go at the pace of the client. Again, because sometimes you're going down memory lane and it's hard to process, especially if you've lost a loved one. So allowing them that time to grieve or process whatever's going on. And sometimes, people are ready and they're just, on fire, making decisions. So I like to meet my clients where they're at. So I can estimate because I've done this for a really long time, but I also don't know how long it's going to take with processing.
Okay.
But, I give that tough love.
Tough love.
Tough love. And we have those conversations of like, realistically, whether things are going to fit or if things are, does it make sense? And if it makes sense, then, no pressure in keeping things, but, being realistic with what your goals are and the space that you do have. So, sometimes a project will take 4 hours. Sometimes a project will take 100 hours. It really just depends on what's going on.
It depends on how much stuff you have, what do you want to accomplish, what your goals are. So we want to thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You can find Stephanie at www.organizedchick.com. And we'll post all of her information as well so that you can get in touch with her as you want to make your space a priority and keep your self-care a priority while making your space match that. So thank you for joining our first segment on decluttering. We are going to roll some commercials of some of the people that supported this virtual health fair today, and we will come back with another segment. So we'll see you in a bit.